Hi, my name's Danielle Dick, and the date is 1/20/2023. Um, I'm going to tell you a story that started in 2017 and was basically finished on September 15th of 2022 when I was poisoned by my neighbor, Teresa Whitman, and Kevin Whitman, and Tia Whitman, with the help of the other side, Glenn Keller, knocking on windows. The whole summer, I was staying on a cot at the hospital with my mother at Grandview Hospital. She was diagnosed with a mystery illness. She had 15% chance of surviving, and it ended up being acute strep shock. Um, her legs were turning black. They were talking about amputation from time to time. Her blood stopped clotting. Blood sugar went pretty insane. Um, anyway, she was in the hospital 90 days about, and I was on a cot next to her. Well, on September 15th, they told me that they were going to discharge her the next day. So so I went to her home where she's been first floor bound for years now, and I slept upstairs um, in my old family bedroom. So when I got home to her house from the hospital, I um, washed her bedding, got her bed set up. They brought a hospital bed, washed her bedding, washed some clothes for her. I went upstairs. I washed my bedding. There was a funny smell in the room, as there has been for a few years. Um, so I washed all the bedding. I washed the clothes I was wearing, and got ready to go to bed. I went upstairs and I looked out the back window and I noticed that Teresa Whitman, in the adjoining duplex house, was taking her pets and also some bedding and leaving the house. I didn't really think anything of it too much, but also my dad went out and he was taking the garbage out, so I just happened to notice from the second story. I noticed her leaving with her pets and also my father taking the garbage out. Well, I went to bed and basically, I went to bed, and around 2 a.m., I awoke to a sickening sweet odor permeating the room. So sickeningly sweet, like rotten fruit or something. I began salivating, almost like I couldn't stop salivating. I got to the bathroom, and it almost was like gagging me at this point. I knew I had to get to the hospital to help my mom. Um, by the time I got to the hospital, my arms were numb up to my elbows. My arms were numb, like almost if I hit them against the wall, like I wouldn't feel anything. It also felt like each tooth was being ripped out individually. My jaw wasn't lining up. All the joints in my body hurt. Um, I couldn't think really straight. Um, I told the nurses station what happened. I told the nurses station. They asked, if anything, if I had the air conditioning unit on. I said no. That was another strange thing. It was very cold that night. It was cool, and my dad's very OCD. He never opens windows. And around 4 a.m., quite frankly, I was afraid to go downstairs and wake him up because he's not the nicest person. I have a metal eye and stuff. Um, so I kind of left the bedroom and went into the upstairs bathroom. And around 4 a.m., I went downstairs and I noticed my dad had every window open on the first floor. So anyway, I left and went to the hospital with him and everything and got ready to take mom. Um, I forgot to mention that mom's worked at this hospital for 28 years, and I've worked as a CNA, so I'm pretty familiar with a lot of medical situations. Um, Basically, after that, the next month was spent going to emergency rooms on high doses of clindamycin. I had cellulitis in my bladder. I had my kidneys were swollen, and I had a fever in my kidneys, and they were swollen. The fever worked its way up my spine, and eventually there was fluid on my brain. I was basically had to sleep with my head in ice for almost a month, um, as the fluid and the pain, the fluid, everything progressed. I was hospitalized twice, um, and this is kind of being a joke because I know this is intentional by this neighbor. Back in 2017, I was basically in a situation where I had to come home to my parents' house. I caught the neighbor girl. She was, I guess, going through something, but she was basically in our house, so I caught her breaking and entering, and I guess my dad was soft on her. I don't know why, because he wasn't on his own children, but he was soft on her and kind of like let that slide. Um, yep. But anyway, so I guess they got mad at me for telling on their daughter, even though nothing came out of it. But they started basically picking on me since that, like little stupid things. You name it, laser pointers, little dumb things like that. Well, anyway, uh, one day when I was home and I didn't have a job, I was basically just home, carless at my parents' house. And my mom and my dad were at work. Like I said, this is back in 2017. I witnessed Kevin Whitman coming out of my parents' basement. I heard the Bilko doors slam. I saw him run out the back door. He ran over to his shed where another neighbor was waiting. Steve, his name is. He's the next house down. Um, I don't know his last name. He married Kirsten Roth. They have 4 kids. But anyway, so I noticed him run out of our basement, and I'm thinking, this is like a joke. They're stoners, whatever. Um, we've had problems like, for example, Glenn Keller, the neighbor next door, is a heavy alcoholic. We've caught him a bunch of times just like urinating in our flower beds, things like that. So anyway, I heard him and I saw him go out the back, and he was kind of like laughing. So I went back upstairs, and basically at that point, on the other side of the house, Teresa and Tia were, like laughing and things like that. And next thing I heard a smash, and I heard like I heard this a ridiculously like loud smash, and I went into my childhood bedroom, the one 5 years later in 2022 I'd be poisoned in. I went in there, and the window was broken. Um, Something had been thrown from Glenn Keller's house to my window. He then called my parents and told them that there was a squirrel's nest um, in there. So after that, I looked out the window and I saw him down in one of his windows, like going like this and like looking. And next thing I know, I heard the Bilko doors slam again out back. So I started going down the steps. And at that point, I witnessed Glenn, who's a pretty heavy guy, so you can't really miss him. And I witnessed him run by and knock on our front door. Not knock, ring the doorbell. And then go over to his porch. At that point, I went over and said, "What are you doing? Knock it off. Knock it the F off. What? I wasn't over there. I wasn't over there." At that point, I hear the Bilko doors again, and also the attic window where the way Tia sneaks in. So basically, this was like an ongoing thing. It was nonstop, and a few weeks later, I basically noticed the smell happening in my room. And also, it would be accompanied with something that would look like someone opened up a vacuum bag and kind of just like ripped it and threw it. And also, there'd be like this greasy covering of stuff, kind of like I found this year. So, also, they would leave trash bags that didn't match any other trash bags in our house. Like, I guess that was them saying, "You're trash." They also left a note. And they also, I had a house phone that wasn't in service for years, but they actually cut it with scissors and left a note. And I made the mistake of calling my dad home because literally I had all this like evidence, and he 302'd me. And there's literally brown stuff dripping down the walls in that room. I proved it to the DEP. I sent out a 3-part sample to state, local, and federal. I have a contact there. My health insurance believes me. I was just diagnosed with something that can't be explained. I had a perfect lung x-ray in March of 2022. The incident of the poisoning happened on September 15th of 2022. Today's 1/20 of 2023, 5 months later, and my lungs look like I've worked in an asbestos plant for 20 years. They say that basically after you breathe in carbon tetrachloride to this extent, this is one of the last phases. I managed to work through my liver and things, and now I'm dying from it. And it was a huge joke to everybody, my father included. He's fighting calling any type of like homeowners insurance. You would think if your wife and your daughter got poisoned, you'd want to know. Or you'd think if there was like brown residue running down the middle room of your upstairs, you'd want to know. You would think if basically the DEP got a sample and red flagged it, you'd want to know. But I don't know. I'm basically wondering if maybe there's like life insurance or something out on Mom, and this is just a game, because it's not the first. I don't know. So, yeah, I was poisoned on September 15th, 2022. And I got my diagnosis. I am dying. They're going to make me comfortable. So, thanks for listening.